especially with a guy like Ulberg, who everything looks so good on paper for him, but he's going against a guy with so much experience in Dominick Reyes. I mean, you're talking about a guy who went 5 rounds with John Jones, right?
Right.
It's that strength of schedule, and it's who they've been in the octagon with.
Welcome to First Strike, only on VSiN, the sports betting network. Here's your hosts, Dave Ross and Rob Moreno.
And we are back. First Strike here on VSiN. Dave Ross and Rob Moreno coming at you here on a Monday. And Rob, get those body clocks ready because we're going down under to Perth, Australia this weekend. So how do you readjust the viewing body clock to get ready for a card in Australia?
You know, luckily they're going to air this kind of friendly for us here in the States. Right. You know, we get it here, 7 p.m. Eastern, so that's not bad. I'm worried about their body clocks, but, you know, it's nice to get it back. We were just talking right before recording how it's a surprising nice break when you get a break, especially later in the year. We've been on this, you get on the UFC grind in the middle of the year. It's just go every single weekend. It's nice to get a break, but it's also nice to be back.
And you're right. We've Americanized everything, right? So, yeah, the fight cards are over there, but we still make it advantageous for us on a busy college football Saturday, Ryder Cup, whatever you're watching. You can still watch this without having to sacrifice too much sleep over there in Perth. The main event's interesting. We'll get to the on Friday's show, of course, here in First Strike. We'll see what El Modelo, what the model is going to tell you and which way to go. I am curious, does it sense that maybe Ulberg is too big a betting favorite against Dominick Reyes? Because the numbers, I'm assuming, as the week go, might adjust ever so slightly.
So I kind of teased it last week, right, that I'm kind of looking at a couple different things when it comes to my model and different things I may like. And one of those things is actually inflated favorites, right? Mm-hmm. Especially with a guy like Ulberg, who everything looks so good on paper for him. But he's going against a guy with so much experience in Dominick Reyes. I mean, you're talking about a guy who went 5 rounds with John Jones, right?
Right.
You know, and you know, there's people watching the UFC today that don't even know that John Jones, you know, but he's still John Jones. And it kind of goes back to what we saw at Noche UFC, right? It's that strength of schedule, and it's who they've been in the octagon with. And Dominick Reyes has been in there with some guys. He's been in there with some dudes. Ulberg, I'm not sure has yet. And his number from last week, we saw him at minus 225, I believe. He's now minus 265. So that's something I'm starting to weigh in the model, and whether or not it's almost like a trap favorite, right? Is this guy too big of a favorite with such a low score in my model? And that's definitely something I'll be keeping an eye on.
Something we talk about all the time with Reed Kuhn, right? Maybe the godfather of the analytics when it comes to the fight game. And when you do these projections, that sometimes the number will force you to make a decision based on, hey, maybe the model, we don't like it as a fight fan, as an observer, as a bettor, but the model says, hey, it's too big a favorite, and there's actually a price point that there could be a buyback here on Dominick Reyes. So I'll be curious to see if we get there. By the way, that total sitting right now at 2.5, potentially 5-round fight here, juiced to the under $1.54, and that could be correlated, right? That you could say, well, if Carlos Ulberg, the younger fighter, bigger striker these days, if he's going to get it done, he gets it done early, and maybe the longer the fight goes, that could favor the Dominator.
You know, it's interesting because the Dominator is actually coming off, I believe, back-to-back knockouts as well.
Yeah,
so
he is.
This could just be the assumption that these guys are going to go out there and put on a striking clinic, and we may see a guy drop. You know, it's always the light heavyweight division is always one of the funnest weight classes to watch.
No doubt.
I don't know if you feel about the way you feel about it, but I think 205 is kind of like that perfect athletic build. Maybe it's just because we're shorter guys and we're smaller guys. I'm never going to weigh 205, but it's that blend. You know, heavyweights can sometimes teeter between, you know, looking athletic, being athletic, and just being big guys. 170 below, 185 below, they're just leaned out. But 205 is kind of like that natural freak athleticism, and that's why I enjoy the light heavyweight division so much. And I think it's also why it's one of the toughest divisions, one of the hardest to keep the belt when it comes to that. And so a guy like Dominick Reyes, I think he sees gold on the other side eventually, knowing, hey man, Jones is out of the picture. This is a new division. I mean, Pereira dropped the belt. You know, we'll see how that figures itself out. But it'll be interesting with the total 2.5 for a 5-round light heavyweight fight. Maybe we're just expecting one guy to go down either way.
I think it's a little bit of precursors you alluded to here to that October 4th rematch here between Magomed Ankalaev, the current champion in this weight class, against Alex Pereira. And yeah, if you're Dominick Reyes and you pull this upset here as over a $2 betting underdog, and you do it in, with that flair that he's been known to do, say it was a first round knockout, who isn't to say that maybe Dominick Reyes is not back in the title picture if he can get it done with some style points this weekend. Let's take a look at, we mentioned earlier last week, kind of joking, 2 Tafas on the card. Rob, not 2 Tafas anymore. Did we make that happen? That we said that's one too many Tafa on a fight card.
I apologize I'm trying to check which one got Junior. I apologize to Junior Tafa, who will no longer be fighting this Saturday. Justin Tafa will still be fighting. But if anything, Justin Tafa got bumped up to the main card. So
that's right.
There must be a Tafa minimum for the main card that they had to meet. And so they just bumped up Justin Tafa. Yeah, it's a very interesting fight. I was actually, not to give anything away. So
yeah,
one thing is that the model will not have too many fights this weekend. There's just not a lot of fighters with enough data on both sides. So unfortunately, it'll be a shorter betting card for the model, but you got to find somewhere to bet. We had a week off. I need something to look at. And I was actually looking at who Louis Sutherland was, Justin Tafa's opponent, because any reason to fade a Tafa, I'm going to look for it, but I want to make sure. And what I've seen from Sutherland, just look up pictures. This is a big guy.
Yeah.
He is a huge man. He's taller. He's got the reach advantage. It'll be interesting to watch that fight. I may be putting something on Louis Sutherland this week.
Yeah, right now about -$2 here in the betting market for Sutherland. See if we can get home to that for a ticket on Friday's show. Jimmy Crute's going to be on this co-main event here against Ivan Urslan. And right now, Crute's a sizable favorite here. About $1.85 betting favorite. And again, a lot of flavor for this area of the world and fighters from this area. Going to be a fan favorite as well. But what about that price point? Does that feel a little heavy to you?
It does a little bit. It's kind of like I mentioned, especially considering some of these guys don't have a bunch of UFC experience. It's always hard to know what you're getting. So it's kind of priced based only on Jimmy Crute more than what we know about Ivan Urslan. So, yeah, I think it's a little high at the moment, but obviously there's some bigger prices on this. So, if anything, it's probably one of the better priced fights, but it is still a little wide.
We've got a couple other fights here just to take a cursory look here on a Monday. And, again, come back with us on Friday here for First Strike. We'll give out our official plays that the model has selected. Jake Matthews is still a $4 betting favorite for all intents and purposes against Neil Magny. We've talked about a little bit about this fight here a week ago. Neil loves this, right? Throw me down there in Australia. Make me a big underdog. I don't care. Maybe his better days are behind him, but he's still plus 310. What do you make of that number?
I still love that number for the Haitian sensation.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking last week. This is exactly a week ago. Jake Matthews was -600, and we said that was ridiculous. It's obviously come back down quite a bit, -395 now. But the Magny side still appeals to me. It's one of those situations that running through the model, it may be something that I find kind of a trap favorite again. I'm going to probably use that a little bit where, and it's not necessarily me trying to fade my model. You've asked me before, am I willing to fade the model? It's not looking for that. It's acknowledging that this guy may have a small advantage and should win, but he is way too big a favorite for how closely contested these two individuals are. And Neil Magny at plus 310. I mean, for a smaller card that I'm going to have, I might as well throw a plus 310 on there. It's not official, but I'm definitely looking at that.
And the other way to go, and this is why you wait here, people, if that number keeps coming down dramatically, you could find some value in the favorite at some point.
Right.
If it keeps coming down. But there was no value, obviously, a $6 betting favorite, as we pointed out a week ago. That was the good time to buy Magny, still a good price point this week. But if it keeps coming down, there could be some value here in the favorite. I'm fascinated to see what Tom Nolan can do here against Charlie Campbell. Feels like Big Boy's going to rumble here. What do we make of Nolan as a small favorite? I'm seeing $1.50 right now.
It's another fight that the model's going to skip there, but you're right. It's kind of that hometown flavor that they're looking to get. And I think especially these younger guys, man, they always go out there to put on a show. He is on the main card, but I think, -150 right now. I think that's a pretty good price. It's priced pretty well for these two guys. I think he's going to go out there, put on a show, and do what he can. And I think it's great when they do these cards and they're filled with hometown guys, whether they're favorites or dogs, because it means the crowd's going to be in it every single fight as much as they can. We talked about what happened in Paris and how just that crowd was just in it from bell to bell. I think having guys like Tom Nolan and even a couple Tafas, it helps the home crowd just be behind every single fight.
To wrap this up, anything on the undercard and the prelims? I'm seeing Andre Petrovsky here at about minus $1.48 against Carl Ralston here. Come back there is plus $1.24. Also looking at Jamie Malarkey at $1.08 against Bedoya, minus $1.12 there. Some closely aligned fights. Anything that's jumped off the page here as we get closer to fight night on Saturday?
So Malarkey and Bedoya is actually an interesting one. I do have data to run that through the model. They are pretty close, and the odds actually represent that, right? We got minus 108, minus 112. That'll be one I'll be looking at throughout the week to see which side I go with. The model does lean Jamie Malarkey, but like I said, it's very close. So whether or not I go the other way or not, we'll see. But yeah, it's an actually interesting undercard. You got Luana Carolina there, Loma Lukbunmi, finishing the prelims at the end. You got a couple interesting ones.
It's a deep card.
Yeah, it's actually a very deep card. There's 14 total fights. As you mentioned, Andrei Petrovsky almost opens up the card for us. Oban Elliott as well. Colby Thickness, I think, is one of the best names I've seen on a fight card, so I'll be interested to see that. I might just put a bet on him because he's the dog and his last name's Thickness.
Navo Sterling in there, 238 against Rodolfo Bellato. I've been backing Bellato. It has not worked out all the time here. I don't know that I'm going to be on that side this time, but I see that total at 1.5. It's just to the over. I might take a look to that under at plus $1.35 there, plus money in that one. I don't know that those guys want to get paid by the minute in this fight. That's for sure, down under. Rob, great stuff as always, my friend. Cannot wait until Friday to get those official predictions. Do we know who our guest is, or are we going to tease the public and they'll have to find out when they join us on Friday?
They got to follow us on social media, and we'll make an announcement there. So at DRoss Sports, at the Rabio for me, and we'll get our guest announced on there.
You do such a great job with that, by the way. And that's what we call a tease in the business, so be sure to look out for that coming up later on this week. So for the aforementioned Rob Moreno, I am Dave Ross. We'll see you Friday for First Strike from Down Under.